What's up guys, today we're back with another video and it's a little bit different. Today we're going to be analyzing Melee. So we're not looking at the Summit Grand Finals because I'm a Melee expert, but because I want to see how we can apply our fundamental knowledge, our ideas about how to play Smash to another Smash game, and maybe learn a few things about strategies that they use in Melee's very well developed metagame and apply them to Ultimate. So grab a drink or a snack, like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into today's video where we'll be analyzing one game from the Grand Final set between Mang0 and Zain.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
Trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
Anyway, Melee. I used to play Melee, guys. I used to be a pretty decent Sheik main. My biggest accomplishment is almost beating Armada, which sounds really impressive, but I almost beat him because I signed up for the tournaments under the name Bye, which is what a DQ was called back then. So when they announced our game, they said Armada versus Bye, and Armada thought he had a bye, so he didn't show up, and then he almost got DQ'd, and that's how I almost beat Armada. And then he destroyed me. So, fun fact, I almost beat Armada, technically. Anyway, I was pretty decent, but that was like, that was like 10 years ago, big brain Ramses. Cheesing now and back then. Always been a cheater. Always been a cheater. That's why I play Shulk, dude. But I mean, I was pretty good. Like, I was legitimately pretty good. I never took like top level wins, but like the Netherlands back then was like super stacked. Like the players were like really like internationally like really solid players. But I got like 13, stuff like that. So my Melee knowledge is a little bit outdated. I keep up with Melee. I know what's going on in the meta. But this is the first time I'm really doing analysis for it on stream. So I'm really curious to see what we can learn like fundamentally from Melee. I'm really interested. So let's take a look at game 4 of the Grand Finals. Dude, Mang0, I think Mang0's playstyle has evolved so much over the years. Does Notion support phones? It should. More so than Google Docs. Right, so like one of the coolest things about this matchup is that you have like a very clear dynamic where like Marth cannot really keep Fox out without doing landing aerials, right? So Marth prefers to do landing aerials, whereas Fox basically has this constant pressure where they could like jump in and nair. And the thing about nair is that nair will beat you at the beginning of the landing aerial as well as at the very end of the landing aerial. So there's like this portion of the jump in which Marth is basically untouchable, but then there's also the portion of the jump where Marth is very punishable. So what Marth wants to do is Marth wants to jump and not always do a landing aerial. Right, because if you do a landing aerial, now you're in lag, and there's basically two options after the landing aerial, right? Is you can either throw out like some sort of interception to say, hey, if you mess up, I'm going to try to intercept you. But that then again kind of opens you up to more of the nair pressure that Fox has. So the other option is to just shield and kind of take it. But both of those are actually pretty bad because say that he just waits you out, right? You whiff your landing aerial, he just waits you out, you do like a rising aerial or an interception to keep Fox out, now Fox has a guaranteed whiff punish. If you shield, now Fox gets guaranteed shield pressure. So doing the landing nair in and of itself, it's like kind of safe, but it's still punishable, and that's like a dynamic that's very important. So if you look at like Zain, he gets a landing fair, immediately retreats. If Mang0 wasn't throwing out lasers, he would have actually had the opportunity to kind of capitalize on that. But instead, because Zain, with the landing fair, he still has to retreat, so Mang0 still gets some stage control out of his interaction, right? So we see the next lasers automatically advancing. And then we see the landing nair again, or landing fair again, and then immediate interception afterwards. So after the interception, now we know again Fox can set a pressure on this, so we get the retreat. And because of all these small interactions, eventually Fox is going to break through, and we're gonna get the first neutral being broken up. So a lot of this is about like layers upon layers of 50-50. So we get like landing aerial, so that's like the first 50-50. Like, do they call it the landing aerial, like the jump of the landing aerial, or do they capitalize on the ending leg of the landing aerial? And then after the landing aerial, we kind of get the interaction between do they intercept afterwards or do they defend? And if they defend, or in both situations, Mang0 can kind of wait it out and try to capitalize on an advantage after the whiff. So I think what Zain, like I watched the set, I think what Zain mainly does wrong and that's just my opinion, is that he focuses too much on trying to wall Fox out. Because I think walling Fox out is just not feasible due to how strong and oppressive Nair is. However, the other side of it, which you could argue for, is that like after a landing Nair on shield by Fox, he has to kind of shine out, and after shine, like the pressure is not guaranteed. There's definitely openings in that pressure. So like both sides have like these layers of 50-50s that are generally advantageous. However, they don't guarantee any hits. And this is very, very closely applicable to Smash, right? So say that Chrom whiffs like an advancing Nair. You're not going to be able to punish the Nair directly. However, they could throw out a down tilt or a jab afterwards to try to intercept. And if they do, now they're actually in lag and you actually get like some really solid pressure. However, they can also like use that time to instead retreat, right? Because you're waiting for them to throw out like an interception, jab, or down tilt. So you're waiting, they're going to use that time to retreat to kind of like reset the situation, and then you get a stage control win instead. So like a lot of these concepts are very similar. The only difference is that once the pressure is in, the pressure is way more punishing in Melee than it is in Smash Ultimate. So Smash Ultimate has a lot more of the neutral situations. But yeah, we are doing Melee analysis S1. So we get the opening. It has to be a misinput by Mang0. Just like the the commentator said. Okay, well. Yeah, so that is exactly what happens with Zero Suit, right? So they hit the Nair on shield, right? So it's basically like a whiff. So then they jab to try to like establish like an interception on your pressure afterwards. But if you wait out the jab, you're actually good. So it's the same dynamic, right? He does a landing aerial and then he down tilts. If you wait out the down tilt, that's where you get the actual pressure on Marth. So I like look at this movement by Mang0. So this is something that you guys can apply to your own game as well. If someone is respawning, where do you move? Right? You move retreating from the opponents, but in a way that you don't instantly corner yourself. So say that if Mang0 had retreated, like if this respawn happened and Mang0 had retreated all the way to the ledge, this literally would have been one hit to kill. So he retreats, but he never goes all the way to the ledge. So a very common mistake among like even high-level players, honestly. He's retreating all the way to the ledge. So instead, because he's in the middle of the stage, Zain cannot commit to a punish, to a hard punish. And you can actually see that in his movement, right? So if you look at the way Zain moves, he moves forward, small dash or small pivot, and then a dash forward again. So that small pivot is actually a way to still be able to cover a jump over. So if you look at Mang0's full hop, it's actually a very ambiguous full hop. Because this full hop, it goes away, but you know, Fox as a fast follower can always like double jump, still has shine as a mix-up, lot of mix-up options. So Zain cannot simply commit forward, and because of that little bit of hesitation, that little bit of trying to cover the center of the stage, we actually see the grab whiff. And then Mang0 does go to the center of the stage, actually does get a punish on hit. Love to see it. Dude, Zain fucking fishing for those grabs. Look at that. Grab. Yep, and here we see it again. Look at this. Look at this. Walling aerial, dash back. Walling aerial, dash back. Right? So like, this is, you know who does this in Ultimate? Palutena. It's walling back air, dash back, right? A lot of characters go for these walling aerials and then kind of retreat because they don't want to get stuck. Inkling does the same, walling aerial retreat, because they don't want to get stuck in shield. They don't want to commit to an interception, right? So this is why I think pressure wins games. So a lot of people talk about Ultimate being a defensive game. I disagree. Like, I think if you play purely defensive like this, you actually are gonna you're gonna lose out on the long game. Of course, again, these are all mix-ups, right? So in a lot of situations, like, it's not guaranteed, but if you look at like an overall pattern, like the defensive play will not do. The best characters in Ultimate are characters that can pressure you off of these whiffs, right? So it's usually the characters that have some of the best whiff punishes. So think about it. We look at like top tiers like Joker, really good whiff punishing. Pikachu, if you whiff, they set up pressure with Thunder Jolt. Peach, kind of an exception because she's really hard to whiff punish, so she kind of ignores the rules. But Shulk as well. Like, if you whiff against Shulk, he can set up his own pressure. He can pressure you with Nair. He can set up like a walling aerial that's basically impossible to beat, right? So a lot of the top tiers in the game, they're good at putting pressure on the opponent. If you nerf Shulk's Nair to have like more landing lag, the character will destroy, or will self-detonate. Why? Because they rely so much on being able to pressure the opponent for making a mistake, just like a lot of other characters do. Yeah, so snake dash attack is much the same, right? If you make a mistake, I will dash attack you. So the opponent is pressuring. The opponent is basically it's being pressured for trying to pressure you. Again, the better your pressure is, the more respect you have to your opponent has to give you, and overall, you know, the more freedom you're gonna have in your neutral. So we see the retreating aerials, and this is the mix-up, right? So look at this. Sudden advancing there. So if Mang0 had taken the stage control that Zain would have given him with the dash back, this actually would have been this would have been a really good nair. But because Mang0 is staying patient just a little bit more, he's actually not getting punished by this. So this is another lesson that could be really big for you. You don't have to take every advantage that you can get. So like an advantage is just that. It's an advantage. It's like, say that we play RPS and we say, hey, every time I win, I get 2 points. Every time you win, you get 1 point. That's going to give me like a significant advantage. However, I can still lose an interaction. And especially in a matchup like this, where like Fox is basically more glass than cannon, right? It's very important to not win those individual interactions. So what Mang0 says is, hey, I can afford to not capitalize on this advantage, and instead try to make you hang yourself, right? So what Zain did here by whiffing that nair is he basically took a risk, which, you know, Mang0 could have punished. Again, he's trying to wait on the action after the whiff aerial, but he's basically saying, hey Zain, instead of me directly capitalizing on this, I'm gonna wait for you to hang yourself. And then if you mess up again, I can always take the advantage in that situation. So that's another layer. It's like, yes, there is a layer to the pressure, but there's also a layer to, do you take the advantage that you've been given? And if you don't, like, if you just make sure that you mix up just enough to make sure that you don't always take the advantage, that's going to make it even more uneasy for your opponent to work around you. Yep, so we see the landing aerials, and now Zain is in the corner. Actually, someone posted this clip on Twitter, and I actually quote retweeted it because it reflected on the tip that I posted earlier this week, like exactly. But yeah, like eventually the up tilt whiffs, Zain has to commit. He whiffed too much, and the pressure is on. And again, this is where we see, right? He has to, he nairs. He basically has to shine afterwards because, you know, rising nair isn't entirely safe. Oh, the camera's out of focus. Fix. It's not fixing. Let me do it myself. Thank you, T. Focus. Here we go. So this is basically what we're talking about, right? So nair, this is not safe. So he throws out his shine to make it safer. However, then shine kind of limits your options as well, which Zain then calls out with the down air out of shield. So keep this in mind, guys. Pressure on the opponent does not equal a win, right? So there are going to be times where you're advantageous. You're going to try to capitalize on it. Doesn't mean you're always going to win out. It's all about stacking the odds in your favor, right? But there are no guarantees in Smash Brothers. Look at that one punish. Zain being an absolute monster. Absolute monster, honestly. Like, oh, he got the up air juggle. Forward air. Dude, it's the fact that he reacted to this this reverse hit forward air and like just manages to follow up on it. Kind of insane presence of mind, honestly. Maybe this is easier than what I'm making it out to be. But to me, like, having a drop like that is so unexpected and still being able to capitalize, I think that's really good. How could you get such a good punish game? A lot of Uncle Punch. Ooh, dude, this pressure by Mang0 is kind of new. We don't really see like up air from ledge, but it makes sense, right? Because like if your opponent's gonna do like a ledge dash, which failed right here, but then like this is a ledge dash, like the up air makes a lot of sense, right? The up air goes over the options from ledge and then pressures from above. So again, kind of making use. Oh, yo, Whoopi, what's up, Raiders? So kind of making use of the concept of like vertical control and horizontal control, right? So if we like coming from ledge and melee, obviously like pretty strong situation. Marth doesn't have the most invincible ledge dash, but still a really good ledge dash. But it's mostly about covering like horizontally, right? So like the mix-ups are mostly horizontally. So Mang0 instead saying, hey, Instead of challenging horizontally, I'm gonna go over, get vertical control, and then play from there. Vertical control actually pretty important in Melee as well. You can see a lot of it going on like platform stages, where like the character... Yeah, you got the Raimi first. Thank you, Whoopi. I appreciate that. So the character on the platform is able to apply pressure to the opponent because the jump-ins in this game are just so strong. Also applicable to Ultimate, where like if you have a decent landing aerial, like again, I'll take the example Chrom, right? Chrom, landing aerial from the platform. If he does like a nair from the platform or a fair from the platform, you're in the blender. You're getting pressured. Same concept here. You go over the opponent. If they try to challenge you, instead of being there horizontally, you instead say, hey, I'm going to play the game vertically, get vertical control, and then play from there. So, nice by Mang0, honestly. Doing it twice. And then getting huge reward. Right, so look at this. This is the opposite, right? So this is Mang0 messing up. So I don't know what he was thinking here. Probably a slight misstep. But right here, because Mang0, or because Zain is landing on Mang0, has the power of a landing aerial, which is generally more safe than anything you're going to do on the ground, right? The power of a landing aerial, basically a hitbox with no lag, gets to pressure the opponent more safely, so Mang0 has to respect. Yo, Kuza, thank you for the sub. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate that. Oh, and here we see it. So the first time this happened, we actually didn't see Mang0 capitalizing this at all. But this time, Zain whiffing a down tilt and instead aggressing. Again, Mang0 not capitalizing on the whiff down tilt, right? This time saying, I'm not going to capitalize on his advantage, keeping the moments in which he capitalizes ambiguous. And because of that uncomfortable nature of his pressure, Zain feels threatened to intercept after his failed intercepting down tilt. Goes for the advancing nair. And this time, Mang0 ready to capitalize on it, barely gets the nair on the backdash, overshoots, right? So keep that in mind. This nair, definitely trying to overshoot enough to catch a backdash, and then gets the pressure from there. Stanky lag. Ooh. Yep. And again, dude, vertical control. Zain, and this is like the other layer, right? So if we look at Marth as a character, Marth, two main areas you gotta keep in mind. One, forward air, two, neutral air, right? So forward air has a little bit less active frames, right? So we talked about this at the beginning of the analysis. Like, short up forward air, really good walling tool, but you can interrupt it at the beginning and you can pressure it at the end, right? So neutral air then is way less capitalizable on, is way less easier to capitalize on because it's active for longer. So it's harder to capitalize on the startup portion of the jump, whereas for forward air it is. However, forward air covers way more vertical space. So neutral air, harder to interrupt, but covers less space. And in this time, or in this situation, Mang0 just zone breaking right into Zain with the landing up air, knowing that, you know, Zain a little bit scared of those interceptions, a little bit scared, and tries to keep himself safe. And what is safer than a neutral air, which is more active than a forward air, but instead, you know, because it doesn't control the vertical space, Mang0 using that aspect of his space control extremely well. Very, very cool. Like, it's a soft read, right? Because like if Zain did anything except forward air, it like that jump in up air probably would have hit. But then if Zain did a forward air, it could have been really bad for Mang0. So Mang0 saying, hey, this information is very important. Are you willing to forward air or not? And if you don't, I'll up air, right? So simplifying the game. The more you simplify the game, the better. Think about your move ranges, right? Well, this is a range of options that your opponent likes to use. And do I have an option that beats that entire range of options? And the more you can categorize that, the better. Because there's no way that you can beat the entirety of Marth's toolset. And there's no way that you're gonna get a read on exactly what the opponent is doing. But if you know the range of options that your opponent prefers, you can identify an option that is generally successful against that range. Or you can simplify even more and say, hey, this is a range of options. I have this option that beats one half of the range, and this option that beats the other half of the range. And then between those two, you can simplify your game so much, make it very easy to gather information on your opponent. Because instead of it being like, what move is he gonna use? Is he gonna use this half, or is he gonna use that half? And that's like a very simple piece of information to collect. Yep, so again, vertical, just making sure that Zain, going for the grab makes sense. It's a very high reward option, but way too horizontal to play against the way Mang0's playing. That downer had to be a throw. Okay, and now Zain, nice overshoot by Zain. I like this. So the whiffed grab, and Mang0 has been doing these dash dances, right? Really trying to basically stay flexible and force Zain to act first. dash dances like this, or like generally like trying to make your opponent go first, can really can lose hard to callouts. So a callout like this, you can definitely beat with like movement, but then that movement is way more committal. So think about like a full hop or even a short hop, right? Way more committal movement than a dash dance. So, you know, Zain just calling out the movement, very good. You need to make a call out like this, because like one call out like this, I don't know what this punish is going to be. Let's check the punish. Oh yeah, you're going to drop it? Okay, he's going to get the regrab. This is one grab, right? He almost lost his stock. Is he going to lose his stock here? He almost lost his stock. Like, he was definitely in danger of losing his stock because of one grab at like this low of a percent. So what does that mean? He grabs the dash dance, he calls it out once. What does that say to Mang0? That says that, hey, if you're going to continue dash dancing, I can actually call you out for that and kill you off of one interaction. So like that one read is going to disincentivize Mang0 from dash dancing, which in turn is going to limit the amount of options that Mang0 can take, which is going to make it easier for Zain to then cover the rest of the options. So now Mang0 has a choice, right? Do I become more predictable and stop dash dancing? Or do I continue dash dancing while risking the grab? And that, again, is going to be super ambiguous. It's going to make it more uncomfortable for Mang0. And that's going to give Zain more room to do what he would like to do. Yeah, so callouts are important because if you make a read, you limit your opponent's options, which makes it easier to like cover the rest of the options. And at this, like the opposite is also true, right? So if you read your opponents, or if you cover your opponent's options very well, you only leave them to make reads. And if they can only make reads, then your method is going to cover more. But if you cover so many options, then your reads are also going to be easier, right? So for Zain, for example, you can say, hey, his walling areas aren't working out, but they are covering a lot of Mang0's options. Right? So the way Mang0 approaches is more linear because Zain's preemptive hitboxes covers more. So that makes it easier for Zain to make a read. And the opposite is also true, right? So the main way for Mang0 to beat Zain's options is by playing a more passive game because he cannot rush in. So his options are more limited. So a dash up grab read for Zain is easier to make because, again, Mang0's options are so limited. So the more reads you make, the less options your opponent has, which makes it easier to read them. And the more you cover, again, the less options your opponent has, the easier it makes it to read them. And the more you read, the less they're going to do, the easier it is to cover them, right? So reads complement coverage, and coverage complements reads. That dare out of shield is really good, actually. Ooh, okay. Ooh, that reverse hit fair? That's kind of nice. Yeah, so Marf's there definitely covers way better. But at the same time, it's also more committal, right? So if you do a short hop with Marf, you can do a fast fall forward air at like the peak of your jump and still be okay. But in there, you need to initiate it earlier. So you're also sacrificing a little bit of flexibility to get more coverage, right? That down angle's forward tilt is so sexy. Down here. Okay, we got Scrambles. Scrambles and melee are scary, dude, because they're so, like, if Marf gets a grab out of a scramble, you die. If Fox hits a shine here, or you get shine up smash, you die. At least I'm pretty sure shine up smash works on Marf. I don't know. I think it's different between Paul and NTSC, so I'm not actually sure. Yeah, dude, Fox's hitboxes in this game are quite privileged. So we actually see such a, like, look at the way Zain is moving. Okay? Advancing fair, advancing there. Advancing fair. Right? Moves in closer. Right? Look at this. Moves in closer to get the landing fair, right? Moves in closer here, gets a retreating fair. So what we see from Zain in this stock is way more aggression. So instead of all these walling aerials, we see him actively trying to bring the fight to Mang0. And what does that get out of Mang0? Mang0 actually, like, the way he reacts to this change in playstyle is fucking impeccable, right? The way he shifts his own gear and starts playing more aggressive himself is great. Because here's the thing, right? If Marf pressures and Fox pressures, then generally, from what I've seen, Fox wins in the pressure game, right? Because the Nair is just so oppressive. they both have like really good grabs, so in a sense, like Marv has a little bit of higher reward, sure, but it's hard to grab Fox, right? And I mean the opposite is also true. It's hard to grab Marv, but generally, like if they both aggress, I often see Fox win unless Marv specifically like fades back to beat the aggression, which then again is kind of a bit of a read and a bit of an advantageous situation for Fox, I would say, depending on the risk reward of the options, of course, but it's definitely on Mang0 to like say, hey, if you're gonna pressure me, I'm gonna have to counter your pressure with my own aggression, because if you just let Zain pressure you, you're gonna be in a bad spot. See the lasers forcing a reaction, and Zain again playing this aggressive game. Zain is mixing in so many grabs. He's definitely, like, it definitely feels a bit greedy, but then again, like, the risk reward is so advantageous. But at the same time, like, I'm wondering, like, from Zain's perspective, like, what is the read that you got on these grabs, right? Like, I see the overshoot grabs on the type of dash dances, but they really haven't been working out for a while now. Like, Mang0 has definitely adapted past getting called out on his dash dances. So definitely, like, definitely a little bit reaching there. Yeah, I think lasers do invite aggression, but at the same time, like, you shouldn't let lasers decide the way you play unless there's like extremes, right? So if we think about a Hungrybox, like if you're a Hungrybox and you're playing to camp all game, then lasers are an indication to not camp all game. But the way Zain tries to play a mid-range where there's still always the mix-up of aggression, he doesn't need to respect the lasers too much, because like a single hit can compensate for like a few laser interactions. Yep, and here we kind of see, like, if they both play aggressively, like Fox can weave around Marv very, very well, and this is like the exact dynamic that, for example, Joker has in Ultimate, right? Where it's like Joker doesn't really have a dominant neutral, right? He can harass you with projectiles to kind of like force you to do something, but he cannot like wall you out. He cannot like oppress you. He has to wait for you to make a mistake, and then he capitalizes on that with his like landing nair pressure, with his dash attack, with punish, etc., etc. So that's really the dynamic, is that Zain is more oppressive, which is true, but how does he push that aggressive or that oppressiveness and turn it into pressure? And that is like the main dynamic. It's like, when does Zain uses his dominance to defend, and when does he use it to use the implied threat of the dominance to instead establish pressure on Mang0? And then Mang0, on the other hand, like, he has to keep up with that and like turn his like really decide when to whiff punish, when to set up his own pressure, etc., etc. Oh, that should be it. No, it's not. Whoa. Forward air. Ooh, get the up throw. Up air. Up air. Ooh, close. Oh, okay. That's kind of crazy. That trade, though. Nice side B. Turn around to get the ledge. Okay, so now this dynamic is a little bit different, right? So Zain baits Mang0 into the corner. Like, this is huge, right? And now with this dynamic, it's not really about walling Fox out. It's about waiting for the moment that Fox tries to leave the ledge, because Fox does not want to be at the ledge for longer than he needs to be, right? So we see Zain playing defensively, and it works out more because, again, Mang0 is trying to get out of the corner. He's feeding the pressure. It could be his final stock of the tournament. He doesn't want to get comboed once in the corner and die, right? So that is why we suddenly see the defense working out a little bit better. We see the rising nair tagging Mang0. We see the landing fairs, and then eventually Mang0 trying to aggress with his own nair, gets grabbed, and that's bad. That dash under by Zain was kind of clean, by the way. Like, it's not easy to dash under that move. Like, this is some major, like, Hungrybox shift privilege. I don't know if Zain did that intentionally. It looks like he did, obviously, because, you know, he's a really good player. But if he did, like, this is like probably the best way to capitalize on a soft read that Mang0 is gonna do the nair here. Yeah, he went Inkling mode. That's Joker dash. Oh no. Oh, Zain. Oh, Zain. Is this it? Up throw. Nair. That should be it. No, that's not it. Oh my god. Now Zain has to get out of the corner. Oh, look at... Oh, man. Oh, if you struggle to get out of the corner, like this is really good, right? So we see, instead of trying to get out of the corner, he sets up a walling aerial, takes a little bit of space with his landing walling aerial, uses that space to bait Mang0 in with the dash back, dashes, I think that's a pivot forward shield, and then with that little bit of space that he took with the little bit of forward momentum, gets a little bit of extra retreat on his aerial, which makes it a little bit harder to punish him for doing it. And then gets his way out. So instead of trying to get out of the corner, trying to brute force, trying to reversal with the roll, trying to jump over Mang0, he's just like, I'm going to take all the space you're giving me, all of the little bits of space, and I'm going to use it to the maximum efficiency. That was honestly, like, the composure to do this in this situation, kind of insane. Taking just that little bit of space. Pivot shield, this is weird. This frame is weird. Anyway, pivot shield, nair a little bit of a retreat, makes it a little bit harder to punish, and just going for it. That was such a good game. And you can see this interaction. So this interaction between like the concept of whiff punishing through pressure, that is hella prevalent in Ultimate. So if you ever think Ultimate is like a defensive game, do more of the whiff punishing with pressure thing. It's gonna make the game like 10 times faster. Like for sure. Like of course it's a little bit harder if you play a character without good whiff punishing tools. In which case I would say, hey, find out what your character is good at, right? So something like Samus, less good at whiff punishing, but can like whiff punish through pressure by charging like a charge shot, etc., etc. So yeah, hope that was informative. It does make you more patient because you're playing to the opponent's options, right? The only issue is like, you know, like the way Mang0 plays here, like he does invite Zain to just aggress on him. But then like Zain knows, like if I aggress recklessly, he's gonna intercept me with nair. Right, so it's kind of like a game of chicken from both sides, where Zain has more cards in hand. However, because he has more cards in hand, he also opens himself up to... How do I put this? He opens himself up to abusing that power, right? So like, having power, it's like... I'll give an example. A charge shot. Say you're Samus, you have your charge shot. If you have charge shot available, then you have the pressure of the charge shot. As soon as you throw it out there, the pressure is gone. And it's the same for having a more dominant neutral, right? If I'm Shulk and I'm walling my opponent out, the pressure of the wall, when I do like a short hop, the pressure of the wall is there. It's gonna be there. But as soon as I do a landing back air, the pressure is gone. I'm in landing lag. It's gone. I need to jump again to set it up again. So it's not gonna be there, right? So like, as soon as you do whatever the thing is that makes you more dominant in the situation, like in a lot of situations, that means the pressure is gone, right? Or at least significantly diminished. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. If you have pressure, not using the pressure is way stronger than using it. But you have to use it eventually if you want to make use of the implied threat of it, right? So let's find someone to rate. Let's see.